Welcome back to The Price of Business. I am your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. Well, one of my favorite businesses out there is the business of sports. And here we are now, this week's away from preseason and for the NFL, and looking forward to that, seeing more and more stories that are football related, and love to talk about sports with my good friend Chris Kidd, a regular contributor here on The Price of Business, and delighted to see you twice this week with another great story. Chris, before you introduce your guests, I do want to mention Chris's website is Chris Kidd, that's KIDD.com. Tell us a little bit about what you do to help people with their money. You're a money coach, and I think it's so awesome because, a lot of people kind of blindly defer their money and their financial futures to third parties to their own demise. We see story after horror story. In fact, you talked about one this week on your Facebook page that was just literally really almost had me choking up. The reality is it's great to have people help you in your finances, but you can't let these people control your finances or own your finances. It's important for you to know what's going on. And that's kind of what you're involved in as well. Talk about that.
Yeah, we need personal responsibility when it comes to, life in general, but certainly with our finances, and it doesn't matter, whether you're a superstar entertainer or athlete or, a successful business person or what. If you have a lot, you have to understand, how to handle it. That's basically where I come in. I'm really against the whole deal of handing something over to somebody and letting them just drive the car, here, put it on autopilot and go. I prefer to have some responsibility, whether it's, managing their own or having somebody who's managing it, but understanding how they can check up and understand what's going on there. So that's basically what I like to teach my clients, whether they be, athletes, entertainers, business people, or even college kids that I've worked with. Yeah. So that, and it's also as far as just the personal finance side and handling money so it doesn't get out of control in the first place. But got a great guest to talk about this morning, too. Noel Scarlett, he is a former NFL player, and he is actually a coach today. He has a coaching business where he coaches athletes to make it to the next level. And I believe he does that with all different levels, not just the pros, but we'll ask him about that here in just a second. Good to have you on, Noel.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Doing great. By the way, where are you all located?
We're located in Carrollton, Texas, about 10 minutes outside of Dallas.
Just head north on 45 from here. Very good. And are your students from all over the state?
Actually, to be quite honest with you, our students were all over the country. We have guys that come in to train from Mexico. We had a defensive lineman come in from Italy last year. So we take athletes if they want to get better. This is the place to be.
Very good. Chris Kidd?
Well, no, what is the difference as far as, because you guys work with high school up to professional athletes, right?
Yes, sir. Well, actually, we have a football foundations program where we start at even 6 years old. We teach them the basics of body control, speed and agility, and some positional technique work. But, yeah, so we go from 6 years all the way up through pro.
Wow. So I know the fundamentals are the fundamentals, and you do the fundamentals no matter how good you get. You constantly have to work on those. What is the difference between a high school player to a college player to a pro player to an all pro as far as just the little things that you can find to work on fundamentally in their game?
There's always going to be something that you can be better at. What I've always found is through coaching, there's always going to be a situation where you're not going to be a complete player. Even if you watch guys in the NFL, you look at their game and, they rotate out the two downs because, they're good against the run, but they're not very good against the pass. And so I've always had, very huge disagreements with that. I think that if you're a coach, you need to be able to teach guys how to be complete players. And so that's what we do is even in high school, we start to dissect their game and say, okay, you're good on the left side, but you're not good on the right. Okay, we're going to work on that. And so those are the things that we really focus on. And a big thing that's said around the facility is that little things make big things happen. And so that's what we really focus on, is all those little things that you can go out and not just play the game, but to dominate.
Yeah. By the way, the website is 4ispfootball.com.
Yes, sir.
4ispfootball.com. Chris?
Well, I like the fact that you've gone into running your own company and everything. That's one thing I recommend a lot of my clients. That's one thing about being responsible and controlling things. And as far as you had a pretty typical NFL career as far as the acronym "not for long."
Yeah.
You don't see guys working 40 years. you don't see guys working for 40 years unless they go into the coaching side or the management side. But talk a little bit about that and preparation, especially for somebody that comes in new and says, "Hey, I'm going to play forever," and injuries happen, stuff happens, and a lot of guys run out of money just because they don't prepare. Talk a little bit about being prepared or what they can do.
Absolutely. The biggest issue is to be realistic. One of the things that we do here is we're realistic with players. We're realistic from the high school standpoint. We're realistic from the NFL standpoint. And a lot of times, as dealing with high-level athletes, you don't always necessarily want to hear the truth. And so that's one thing that we constantly preach is, hey, you need to know that this deal is going to come to an end. It may not necessarily come to an end when you want it to. You may not be able to go out on your own terms, but you need to be thinking about, hey, what am I going to do after football? And so we're big education pushers. We're always, questioning guys that, hey, what are you going to do when you're done playing? Are you looking into businesses? Have you spoken with attorneys about how to form a business, or what do you want to do? I think is the biggest question. So, we're very unique in this industry that we're a 100% football training facility, which is, again, something that had never been done. And then to be in a situation where you're being coached by guys who've been where you're trying to go, it definitely adds an element of preparedness, because there's not many guys out there that play that are, giving back to the game by coaching and really trying to help guys become better pros. So that's really our focus, is that, hey, it looks good right now, but you need to be aware that this game can come to an end, whether it be injury or they just get to the point where teams say, hey, you know what, we've seen all we need to see. And you're not going to get another opportunity, which was in my case. Mm-hmm. And so at that point, you have to figure out, okay, I still got to live life, and I have things that I need to do, and then you start to realize you have other goals that you want to achieve, and so we push those guys in that direction while they're still playing, so it's not a surprise when it all comes to an end.
Great information. And by the way, again, it's 4 ispfootball.com. Very timely topic. And by the way, when you go to the website, the thing I was most impressed by was the pricing. I think the pricing is very competitive, very real world, very accessible to people. So I want to give you props for that. And then, Chris, final thoughts?
I love the name as well, 4th and Inches. I mean, that is it really puts stuff into perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
That was my favorite play in football. I'm a D tackle.
Yeah.
So that was always my favorite time of the game. I felt like that's when the game was the most important. Think about it. The Super Bowl, just this past Super Bowl, came down to literally 4th and Inches.
Yeah, literally 4th and Inches. And how many Super Bowl games have been like that? And so, exactly. That's a phenomenal name. And that's the greatest opportunity for everybody on both sides to completely show up. And so that's awesome. All right, Chris Kidd, chriskidd.com. That's 2 D's on the end. And again, thanks, Noel, for being with us.
All right, and thank you guys, and thank you so much, Coach Up, for having me on, and I appreciate you guys, and I look forward to speaking with you again.
All right, when we come back, much more for you right here on The Price of Business.